So my name is Michael Sládek. I'm an independent filmmaker, and I work with an organization called SAGindie. We are a small organization, and what we do is we help low-budget independent filmmakers work with union actors. But I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to talk about these great films, and congratulations, you guys, on making such great short films. Yeah. So I'm not even going to try and introduce all of you because I don't know all of you. So why don't we just go ahead and go down the line, introduce yourselves and what film you're here to represent and what you did on the film.
Hello. There we go. Hey, I'm Eric Goldberg, and I wrote and directed Fault.
I'm Jay Russell. I wrote and directed Are You Okay?
Hi, I'm Johnny Cannizzaro. I produced and acted in The Obituary.
Hi, I am Amy Rutledge. I played Zoe in Division Street.
Hi, I'm Zoe Saligroup Junco, and I directed Marisol.
I'm Anuj Goyal, and I assistant directed and co-produced Tina.
Javier Jaime Molina Vega. I directed Wonder.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning. If you all can tell us, including, I know you didn't write this film, right? So you're an actor. Both of you guys are actors in your films, correct? So let's go ahead and go down the line and just tell us where did the concept for your films originate, and we'll start there.
It was a mixture. A lot of it came from these breakfasts that I would go to with my grandfather, with all of his friends, and they would act like I wasn't there. And just seeing what they, still fought about and laughed about, and how it felt exactly the same as what I was going through. That kind of was the genesis of the idea. And then I read a New York Times article about a bunch of rabbis that play tennis together, and I was like, that's got to be something. So it was a mixture of those two things.
For me, I'm an actor. It's my first film I ever made, and I was looking to do something creatively different and challenging, and I had written this idea as a short play, this idea that the audience would read on their phones what was happening in front of them. It was totally unproducible, and then I was looking to maybe make a short film, and I thought that would be really good as a film. And so a combination of that obsession with our devices and how that's changed communication, and also as a single gay man trying to figure out how to live your life with these apps and things. It was kind of a combination of those things that sort of were the fruition of it happening, I guess. Yeah.
I am good friends with the director and the writer of this film, and the director had sent me the script about several years ago, and I happened to know I was doing a play with Anthony Geary at the time, and I sent it to him, and he fell in love with it. So we just thought that it was the perfect mesh of timing and everything else. And he was having back surgery that year, so we actually had to wait an entire year for him to get better so he could do the film. But it was worth it. We felt that it was worth it, so that's how it began for us.
So I'm here on behalf representing Division Street. Our director and writer is actually on her way to London right now to Rain Dance Film Festival, but she lives on the Lower East Side, and Division Street was her love letter to the magic of the Lower East Side.
I actually didn't write Marisol. Tim Elliott, who plays the off-duty ICE agent, wrote it. And it was based out of frustration after the presidential elections, mixed with Lauren, our wonderful producer who's here. She was in the back of an Uber or something like that, and she noticed how the cops gave like a hard time to the driver because he clearly was lost and didn't know his way around. And as soon as the cops saw her in the back, they kind of backed off a little bit. So it kind of sparked her curiosity, you know, for her as a white woman, you know, if she wouldn't have been in the car, how would this driver would have been treated? And so that basically sparked up the idea to write Marisol, and then they brought me in to direct it as a Latina female director.
I'm representing Tina, and our lead actor, also writer, director, and executive producer of the film is not here, unfortunately. Gayatri is also at a festival in Seattle. But the script came to her after she's a trained actress and a trained dancer, and living in New York as an actor and feeling that frustration constantly of also, you know, trying to pursue your craft, but also she also owns her own business in real life. And so it really was a conversation amongst herself of self-identity and kind of dealing with what, you know, yourself haunting you. And it came from there. So she wrote the script for about a year. We're both also first-time filmmakers, so it was a process. So she wrote it for about a year, and then she started building a team before we really started to get going.
My creative partner, Gabriel Furman, was actually sitting right there, who played the father. He plays Frank. Was in Ireland with his fiance. I'm gonna just give her that title now anyway. But he was in Ireland, and he pulled into like a gas station convenience store, and this gentleman walks out with his like 9-year-old son in a Wonder Woman costume. And Gabe is like super sensitive, so he starts crying, and his girlfriend's like, "Why are you crying?" And he's like, "That's a real father right there," you know? And we were both like, come from like single mothers, you know, so it's always been an idea of like what it would be to have like a real male figure who supported us in life.
Interesting. That's great. So, okay, so let's talk some nuts and bolts. How did you guys put together teams to start making this? How did you put together everything, you know, from how did you start? Where did you find the money? How did you put together your team to get this going, to get these little projects going?
Well, luckily, for me at least, I know a lot of my team from film school. I went to NYU, and my DP, Seth, is here, and he did a great job, and we closely collaborate on a lot of projects, and he set me up with the producer, and you know, after that, it's just about calling in all those favors and begging for more favors, and seeing how quickly you can put it together and get people for 2 days. So it was really, as far as that goes, it was a very clear process because, you know, you just kind of get the call, and when you're ready when someone calls you, you show up. So that's what we did.
Anyone else?
I was teaching on-camera acting at the New York Film Academy, and so that was my little experience in front of the camera, and I got my DP and a lot of my team from that school, my equipment, and I had taken this workshop about self-producing, and the woman who taught that really helped me come up with the budget, and I did a big email campaign, and as you could see from my credits being as long as my film, I said, even if you gave me $10, you'd be listed in the credits. So every single person who gave me any money, I listed in the credits, and a lot of people gave me, you know, some a lot of money, some $10, and it just sort of, yeah. And then I guess a lot of the team recommended other people, and my first DP I had to fire. My second one got run over by a car, but I ended up with he's fine.
So,
but
DPs, watch out working with this guy, DPs.
But the third one turned out great. He's still alive.
With our film, we the script was floating around for a while, and then the director and the writer really wanted to do it, but it was they were so busy with their production company that they didn't have time to put the pieces together. So that's why when they sent it to me, they said, if you're willing to make it all happen, find another actor, find a location, get a little money, then we could do it. And I just fell in love with it because I thought it would be a great piece for me as an actor, thinking, selfishly at that time. But well, thank you very much. but yeah, so like I said, it was just a matter of everything coming together and working out for the better. And we're currently working on the feature version, which is exciting.
So
I did not direct.
So the filmmakers cast you and told you, go produce this and we'll make it?
Well, basically, we've worked together. They knew me more as an actor. I've never produced anything. This was the first thing that I produced.
Huh.
So they just kind of took faith in me that I could make it all happen. And when I brought Tony on to the project, he just raised the level of it just tremendously. And I kind of won them over, I guess, as a producer. So we've been working together ever since. But essentially, that's how it happened, yeah.
Cool.
So Traven Rice, the writer and director, she actually leads Film Shop, which is a film collective in New York City. And so all the crew was members of this film collective. I was chosen by Backstage. And the star of the show, who's up there, Dee, Melody. Yay! I think you from Backstage, right? Yeah? Yeah. And so she got all her actors on Backstage.
Okay, cool.
My friend Sydney Hugh, we went to film school together at NYU, and she founded this awesome female filmmakers group. And I recently had joined, and that's when Lauren put out the post that she was looking for a Latina female filmmaker. So it was just a pretty standard interview process, and I tried my best to charm her and Tim. And it was an immediate connection, I want to say, but I always give her... I'm always really thankful for her, because when I went to film school, I made it such a point to write about women that I forgot to support women behind the camera. So when she hired me, her only request was that all the heads of my departments needed to be women, and I freaked out because I didn't know any. So that became like a beautiful journey. All of our heads were women. It was crowdfunded on Seed and Spark, which is female owned as well. And we just had like a beautiful, life-changing experience. And now moving forward, every crew that I get, I make sure there's like at least equal both men and women. So
Great.
We got really lucky. So we were both first-time filmmakers. For me, my first film ever. Gayatri has been in the industry for quite a while now, but our first thing that we're creating together. And similarly, we had an all-female cast. That was always the way it was going to be, and so it was kind of important for us to have a female-heavy crew, which is what we had. And so we had a lot of meetings. We met a lot of people. The script was floating around. We wanted to make sure that everyone that signed on to the script, liked the the team, and liked the energy and the environment that we were creating. And have to say that we only had a 3-day shoot, and most of our production all said that this was one of the best shoots that they had had, simply because of the energy, and the atmosphere that we created. And I also have to say that we were funded 100% by our lead actress and director, writer, executive producer. She has her own business, and so the film was completely funded by her. So again, female filmmakers.
Drugs. We sold drugs. No, I'm joking. I'm partially joking. me and Gabe, we came out of pocket, and then we had a script that people believed in, you know what I mean? And so we didn't really ask for permission. We were like, we gonna make this film, so you can either get down or get out the way. And we had Pogo Piggybackers and Tan Boy Productions throw some money our way, and then we gave it to our amazing producer, Eva Minimar, and she made magic, man. She got people, you know, I apologize. She got artists to work for like below minimum wage, and I mean, she did some magic, bro. We had limited funds, and people showed up, so I give all the credit to her.
So some of you already answered this, but let's talk about the casting process for those who haven't already mentioned it. What was your process? How did you reach out to actors? How did you audition actors if you did? And just, yeah.
Well, I'm particularly lucky in that when I'm not making films, I work in casting. And so I knew the actor. Made my list.
You knew Larry?
I did the casting process.
It took me a minute. I was like, oh my God, that's Larry from Three's Company.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
He was fantastic. Richard was great. And I worked with a fantastic casting director, Carly Fomelant. And between the two of us, we, did the process of going through agents and pitching the project and hoping that they would give us a weekend of their time. And
so you knew who you wanted?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I knew. I did it based on my knowledge of their work, and it was all offers. Because at that point, everyone in the film has there's no need to audition them.
Well, one of my actors is here, Sidney Harcourt, who played Craig. I have been friends since I moved to New York with Marcia DeBonis, who is supposed to be here tonight, but she's shooting a film. She's a wonderful actor and casting director. And she gave me $50, and then she said, do you need any help casting? And I said, well, I mean, I can't afford you, but she's like, let me read the script. And we met at a cafe, and she had come up with lists for the 3 lead characters. And I said, wow, I didn't expect this was going to be our lunch. And she said, these would be offers only. And I said, oh, so I couldn't audition them. And she said, no. The caliber of these actors, you could not, you're a first-time director, no one knows who you are, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, how would I have auditioned this film anyway with almost no dialogue? So she got me the reels of all of the about 10 guys per part, and I studied them for a couple of weeks. And then I came up with my first choices, and she said, you'll never, ever get your first choices, so start coming up with second and third. And all of my first choices said yes. And I was stunned, and they were all spectacular, a dream to work with. And Peter, who played Alex, the one with the glasses, he actually composed the score as well. And the 4 guys who I call the scruffers or the hookup guys were all friends of mine that I just said, would you play Pig Boy and be in a jockstrap? And he was like, totally.
You didn't audition Pig Boy?
I did not, no. Not public. I won't talk about it publicly. So they were all friends. I was going to play one of those parts because this whole process was like, I want to create something I can act in. And then I was like, I'm writing it, I'm directing it, I'm producing it. So I just asked a friend to play that part as well. So the next one maybe I would act in, but that's how mine happened.
Cool. I sort of mentioned it, but I'll just add to that. I don't know if I said earlier, I don't remember, but I was doing a production of Into the Woods with Anthony Geary in downtown Los Angeles at the time. And it was right around the time that he was retiring from General Hospital. And so he was just anxious to do something outside of the soap opera world. So he just loved the piece so much, and he was so excited that we decided to wait for him. But he was in from the moment he read it. He lives in Amsterdam now, so. But he was a crucial part of the whole thing. But we had him from the get-go, luckily, so.
Trey even got her actors on backstage.com.
I actually have 3 of my actresses here. Emma Ramos, who played Marisol. Don't be shy. Kathy Velasquez, who played Luisa, and Kurad, who played Mac. They're shy today. I don't know why. I had worked with Emma on a Sony commercial that I directed. It was comedy, completely the opposite. But I absolutely love working with comedic actors in drama. I think it's like an amazing process, and they go really hard. And so we auditioned a lot of people. And Emma gave the most unusual audition ever. She challenged all of us. We didn't know. I still don't know what happened when she auditioned. She kind of like came in and came out. But she swayed us. And then Rachel, who's the little girl, we were really nervous because we only had 3 girls that we had found. And she came in with that song. We didn't even know what the song was going to be. And she just sang that. And me, Lauren, and Tim were just bawling by the end of it. And we were like, that's the song and that's the girl. and Kathy was amazing, and she provided us a lot of information to make sure that we were on point because, our lead, Marisol, was Mexican, but Luisa was actually Colombian. So those little subtleties and like the different worlds and their different cultures were very important to us. And then because New York City is like a melting pot, we wanted to make sure we represented that with the cops as well. And Mac was a character that we weren't sure about the gender, but then when Q came in, again, she just like stole the show, and I was like, well, we're done. This is it. So yeah, that was the casting process was really fun. It was great.
For us, so Gayatri, as I've mentioned, is an actress in the city and constantly training, constantly taking classes. And so a majority of our cast came from her network and are, either friends of hers or classmates of hers. The one character that was very important and difficult for us to cast was the dancer, because Gayatri is also a trained dancer. And so we needed that character to be at least equal or able to fake the amount of dancing ability that they had. So we actually used Facebook. She has a strong network of actors and friends that are in the industry. And so we put out a Facebook notice saying, are there any South Asian actresses that are also classically trained? And got a handful of reels and went through that. And Shalini, who played the dancer, I mean, she's stunning, and her reel was just as stunning, and it was similar. We saw her, and we were just like, we have to have her. And so she came in from LA to film for us.
I was the adults was a little simpler because we're members of the Actors Studio, so we cast it in-house. Like all the adults I already knew. I knew their body of work, and I knew how what they were capable of, as far as range. The kids was difficult, man. It was challenging. It's challenging to find a kid that could understand this subject and bring the sensitivity and the complexity that's necessary to actually bring it to life. And so Eva set up 3 rounds of auditions that we kept saying no, and she was kind of go crazy. And then Gabe sends me this text, and it's a video of a kid, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing, yo? He's like, yo, I'm at a bar mitzvah. This kid is my son. I stop recording the kid. Stop taking pictures, bro. And he goes to the kid, and he's like, man, this is gonna sound creepy, but I tell your mom I need your information. And the kid ended up being Sammy, who actually played his son. The young lady walks in, and her name is Farrah Fawcett. And so we're like,
so that's real. I was wondering.
Right? We're like, of course you got to be in the movie. Your name is Farrah Fawcett. And she had so much attitude. She was so amazing. The hardest part was probably Deshaun, who was the bully, the black kid. It's amazing to see, because we were looking, I really wanted to make sure that we went back to this environment and found kids that were actually from that environment. So I wanted somebody who was a little bit street and had some edge and came from an underprivileged community. So I think the 3 of the kids have never acted. Benji, Deshaun, and Tisha have never acted, Avery. And Avery, we couldn't find, man. We were like done. We did all of our auditions and we were almost like ready to settle. And then Delissa, who played Henny, the crackhead, she was like, my neighbor, it's this kid, he just got this charm about him. I think he can do it. And he came in and I was like, bruh, you my dude, bruh. I love you. Let's go. So it was magic, man. We had a lot of magic. I mean, he found them at a bar mitzvah. So.
Well, I gotta say, Delissa Reynolds is one of my favorite people in the world. So,
Word.
Well done.
Mine too. That's what's up.
all right. So very briefly, because we're almost out of time here, tell us. I have a couple more questions, but from script to shooting to edit, how much did your films change or not change, for that matter?
So much of comedy is you write it and you think it's hilarious, and then you get there and you do it and it's not funny. And so luckily you just have to trust your actors, and especially with my piece, because it was so much about their relationships, and you trust the moment. And then when I went in with my editor, Gabe, who's here as well, who did a great job, you find things, and you never know what you're gonna find. I mean, where the grandson is tying his shoe twice, that's just footage from different shots, and that was a joke that we just created in the edit. And so you have to be open to have your film change, and not just be so stuck to what you thought of on the page.
I would say my script didn't change very much. The DP was really, we knew it was a pretty static two guys sitting on their couches. So, he helped me design this idea. We used a Dana Dolly to give it movement and sort of help tell the story. We talked about the split screen. I always knew that I never wanted to see the phones. I always wanted the text to be on the screen as a character in the film and sort of do the kind of take over the screen at times. So when we shot it, we had all of that in mind. And then the editor, I mean, it was a long process of editing. The good news was we could steal from a lot because there was no dialogue. So we could say, where's a shot of him sort of smirking? And we could steal from all different parts of the shooting. And yeah, I would say it was a long process, but the music was hard to find the right music. That was one of the most surprising, challenging things. He wrote exactly what I asked him to, and it was totally wrong. And then we did that like 7 times. And then we sort of ended up with what I think I'm really happy with, but it took some time for that, yeah.
It was a pretty short post-production process. That being said, we did cut out quite a bit of dialogue that was in the script that wound up not being in the film, and you have to watch it so many times in order to get used to that, especially after performing it. You like the rhythm of the dialogue, and then to hear it not there is a little jarring. But ultimately, we were really happy with what the final cut turned out to be. But there was quite a bit that we cut for timing purposes, I guess.
From script to screen, as far as I know, it was exactly the same. The only thing that I can note is that there were supposed to be a few more special effects, like little more magical elements throughout the film that weren't. Like when she's looking at the fish actually turns its head and looks at her. And then I think there's one more little trick that they were gonna do, and I wish I could say why they ended up not doing it, but yeah, I still think it came out pretty good. So.
Script to screen, I would say the essence of the film remained, but we definitely took our time, what I like to call massaging the edit. Like the song you hear at the end, that was like a whole scene. You actually saw the girl singing it, but I don't know, when we were editing it, it was just like way more effective for you to hear it. You don't need to see her singing it. The beginning changed a little bit, and I think the thing that was like most significant was Frederick's lines, because they're so sensitive, and of course we're like living in a very political, heated time. So a lot of his lines, we kept going back and forth. I was like, we have to go hard. He has to say these things. It doesn't matter if they make you cringe. Like, people talk like that, and we need to show both sides of the debate. So we ended up having like a full like a little private screening, and we brought all sorts of different people, filmmakers, people who don't watch film, who know politics, who don't, and just had a whole heated debate on the debate about what lines to keep or not to keep. So that was like our main concern, because we wanted to drive the point and, you know, get there and make you think outside the box, but at the same time we also wanted to remain respectful to the subject. So I think that was like the trickiest.
For us, structure pretty much stayed the same. It was content that changed at the end. Similarly, we had to cut a lot. A lot of the therapist scene was actually like 7 minutes long, and it was like people were, you know, when we first started started editing the film, and you know, we're showing it to some of our friends, we couldn't keep people's attention. And so we ended up cutting a lot of it or using flashbacks to have some of that still incorporated. But that was the biggest thing that was the difference. But a lot of what you saw after that was pretty much in the script. So we stayed pretty true, but we did have to tighten.
Yeah, I would say ours didn't really change much. We had a healthy pre-production phase. You know, I follow Alfred Hitchcock said that you should be able to shoot this film before you get on set. So we had an idea. We knew where we were going. The changes were probably behavioral and solving problems. You know, when you get into that time crunch and you're like, well, I'm gonna cut this scene and combine it with this scene, and that's how we're gonna move forward and save the day. So those were the kind of changes, and I purposely shot it in a way that our editing process was like 3 days. Like, we went in and you know, I like to hold the camera, so there wasn't really much space for it to change in the editing room. We tried just to explore, because we had a whole week set up for edit, but it was shot in a way to come out the way it came out.
Great. Yeah, we kind of have to wrap up. We're going to get kicked out. Those of you who know, what kind of cameras did you use?
We used
the Alexa.
Alexa?
We used the Sony FS7.
Okay. Anyone else?
Alexa Mini.
Alexa.
Alexa Mini.
Alexa's the thing. Alexa Mini. One more thing before we leave. If someone's glasses are on the floor, so don't smash them when you get up. Where are their films now? Like, where can they be seen? Or, well, a lot of you guys have already played a lot of festivals, right? All of these films have played festivals?
You can catch Marisol on HBO.
Oh,
so
nice.
If you have HBO
Okay.
Go, HBO Now, go catch it.
Very good.
The obituary is on Amazon if anyone's interested.
Okay.
We're going to be at New Fest at the end of October at a festival in Brooklyn called Everybody Digital, and in a week I'm going to Wales for the Iris Prize. They picked 36 short LGBT films from all over the world, and I'm going to go spend a week in Wales, and the winner gets £30,000 to make a film in the UK. So,
All right. Great. All right.
I know my partner's gonna kill me. WonderTheShort.com? No. What? Yeah,
Wow.
and we'll see you in Wales. We go to Iris Prize soon. So.
All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. Take care.